Hello and welcome to the video, where we are going to be listing the best of the best, crop of the crop NBA defenders of all time. No more BS criteria and limited sample sizes. It's time to cut through the candidates and name the top NBA defensive players. In this ranking, it's not just necessary to have a great defensive span over a course of one decade. Even if a player wasn't always at his peak for the majority of such time, he may be a top 5 defender for 10 years in a row with 3 or 4 exceptional defensive seasons. But in this case, a prolonged peak is necessary in order to place in the top 5. No one-hit wonders. No fantastic 3-year runs, followed by subpar ones. Since this is a list of the very finest, we are not forced to pick between outstanding primes and sustained performance. This club requires both to join. Since the league didn't start keeping track of blocks and steals until 1973, we still need to take eras into some consideration. Defensive Player of the Year didn't even exist until 1982. In 1968, all defensive teams first appeared. To evaluate which players had the greatest impact on the outcome, we will take into account awards, statistics, and impact on winning. Let's do this. Number 5. Scottie Pippen. Although Scottie Pippen may not have played in a time when high-scoring forwards were common, he is widely regarded as the best wing defender in basketball history. There isn't anyone on earth who was better suited physically in terms of covering a rival team's star player. Pippen looks like he was born in a basketball lab, muscular, 6'8" and with an absurd 7'3" wingspan. Opposing offensive players stood a better chance of getting a floater over Dikembe Mutombo than they had of dribbling around Scottie Pippen due to his exceptional physical power and length. Apart from his physicality, Pippen was an outstanding defender because he could guard quicker guards and bigger forwards just as good. On each of the 6 championship seasons for the Chicago Bulls, Scottie's role was straightforward: protect the best player on the opposing team so that Michael Jordan could conserve some much-needed. His more significant defensive assignments were Magic Johnson in 1991, Clyde Drexler in 1992, a lineup of Charles Barkley, Kevin Johnson, and Dan Marley in 1993, Shawn Kemp and Gary Payton in 1996, and both John Stockton and Karl Malone in the 1997 and 1998 NBA Finals. He slowed these players down just enough to propel Chicago Bulls to win 6 championships in 8 years. Scottie Pippen averaged 2 steals per game during his entire career and ranks 18th all-time in defensive win shares despite not winning the coveted Defensive Player of the Year title. In addition, Pippen earned 8 first-team All-NBA defensive honors in a row. Number 4. Kevin Garnett. Given that defensive sequences don't effectively stop until the opponent has lost possession of the ball, it seems important that Kevin Garnett has 11,453 career defensive rebounds, which is second all-time in the NBA. Garnett has received 9 All-Defensive first-team selections, which is a record-tying number. His exceptional versatility and unwavering competitiveness have helped him achieve this feat. Garnett ranks 4th all-time in defensive win shares and is one of 2 players with at least 2,000 blocks and 1,800 steals during his career. He played 21 seasons in the NBA. In 14, he averaged 1 block and 1 steal per game. With KG on the court, there was no such thing as a mismatch. Despite being a lanky 6'11" and having excellent rim defense, Garnett was totally at ease taking a stance and moving his feet around the perimeter. He used the kind of energy and physicality you usually see down low to attack the opposing ball handlers, and that viciousness frequently caught smaller players off guard. In any role, he always wanted to guard the star player. Nobody else had replicated the combination of heart, brain and physicality of Kevin Garnett, which made the Defensive Player of the Year in the 2007-2008 NBA season. Number 3. Hakeem Olajuwon. Did you know that Hakeem Olajuwon is the only player with at least 3,000 blocks and 2,000 steals, according to Basketball Reference Database? This distinct status is a good indicator of his unique defensive capabilities, but not the only one. With the best feet any large man has ever had, his hands were literally everywhere. Olajuwon was a 2-time DPOY who made 9 all-defensive teams, including 5 first teams. From 1987 to 1990, he led the league in defensive win shares and led the league in blocks per game 3 times, with an insane average of 4 blocks per game in 1989-90. He is the only player with at least 8 defensive rebounds and 4 blocks per game in 3 of his career seasons. The Dream also had 17 seasons with at least 1 block and 1 steal per game, the highest total ever. What made his defense so unfair is his formidable shot blocking ability thanks to his supernatural timing and lightning-fast elevation. But he had no trouble with guarding perimeter players and helping on rotations. Despite not having a lot of muscle, he was gifted with ballerina-esque balance and agility, making him difficult to move. Not to mention his incredible speed on the open floor, which made him a chase-down artist as well. Number 2. Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan ranks number 2 in career defensive win shares and is the main reason the San Antonio Spurs maintained their defensive superiority even as their supporting cast shifted. Duncan was a placement savant who never seemed to move all that quickly but always ended up where he needed to be at exactly at the right moment. In contrast to KG, who was all quick twitch and furious fury. Duncan holds a record of 15 all-defensive selections, and the Spurs finished first in defensive efficiency in 5 of his first 9 seasons, never falling lower than third in that time. During Duncan's tenure, San Antonio actually had a top 5 defense 16 times. We can put an asterisk next to that one and say that defenses led by him were guaranteed to finish inside the top 10. Its weakest performance was 11th in the lockout-shortened 2011-12 season. Number 1. Bill Russell. Any comparisons with Bill Russell are difficult because he competed in an era that was very different from the modern game and played his whole career before blocks or steals were recorded. Still, we have enough data. In terms of career defensive win shares and NBA maths defensive points saved, Russell dominates the competition. In 11 of his 13 seasons, he led the league in defensive win shares, and he holds 7 of the top 10 single-season records in history. Of course, we might simply acknowledge the 11 titles he won, almost exclusively thanks to his defense, instead of focusing on specific data. Throughout Russell's 13-year career, the Boston Celtics continually struggled offensively, posting points per possession numbers that were below league average in all but one of his career seasons. Twice, they finished worst in scoring efficiency while winning a championship. Conversely, every season but 1967-68, the Russell-led Celtics held the top spot in defensive rating. He was a freak, who could either jump over you or run past you. Even though today the overall player athleticism is higher than in the 60s, we still have to take in consideration that this guy is basically a more muscular version of Kevin Garnett with bounce better than young Blake Griffin. Russell transformed the game. He effectively made blocks a thing. He led his team to success. There has never been a defensive player who combined superhuman physical ability, intelligence, and competitiveness as well as Russell. Bottom line is, if the Defensive Player of the Year award had been awarded during his career, he would have won it every season he played. Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe and see you next time.